We're going to do number 4. Today, I can taste my tea water. It does not taste like water or tea. There's a river behind me that it's like a stream with a levee, the Calaveras, and the smell of the Calaveras sort of invades all water, even though I don't think that's what's the source. No amount of filtering. Coffee almost gets rid of it, but it's a river that they pull shopping carts and bodies out of. This is not helpful. Okay, number 4. Thursday, July 29th, 2021, the Mundus works. Hi, everyone. The map of Mundus and the first epistle of Mundus are both available. They provide a satellite view of the world. It's a reasonable place to get started, I think, but neither appears in book 1. The series begins at the street level, people, events, local settings. Then in book 2, it zooms out to characterize the larger world and its cultures and to subtly foreshadow the journey that follows. If a paragraph doesn't appear to be illustrating anything worth illustration, it might be hinting at events to come. Also, being epic fantasy, there are some predictable features. For example, lots of slow traveling, long bouts of philosophical walking between episodes of action. That's the structure of the 1st, 3rd, 4th, and 5th books, but not the 2nd. That's not what Mundus does, or any of the other authors of that book. What Mundus does fulfills a different feature. The series would feel very slightly incomplete, like it were missing a lobe of its liver, if it didn't include the occasional minstrel or bard, or in this case, cartographer who fancies himself both. Mundus would be pained to write in plain English. Although if we're going to be unnecessarily technical about it, his epistles are a translation into English from the original Orphic, but who cares? If the fantasy equivalent of IKEA offered Mundus a smaug hoard of wealth to write instruction manuals, he couldn't do it. The agony would be unbearable. He cares way too much about the aesthetics of his sentences to dress them in brandless denim. Lots of fashions to pick from. Dactylic hexameter is an option, the Homer way, but being forced into any particular meter would feel too restrictive for Mundus, who spent his life freely wandering the continents. He preferred to write in an adventurer's meter, whatever gait was best suited to the present terrain. But he seldom strayed from the paths most flowered with rhyme and alliteration. They're still epistles, formal, but floral at the same time. Second to lastly, the voice in the epistles is not the same voice you'll encounter in the other books, or even in the other chapters of book 2, epistles aside, because Mundus isn't the protagonist, he's just a character. Lastly, some acknowledgements. Aaron, a dear friend since elementary school, painted the map. Jeremiah, a dear friend for nearly as long, combined the epistle and map into the available video. Attributing more contactably than that might bombard them with a Saruman army of solicitors. So in the interest of their inner peace, I'll leave it at that for now. But they will both remain involved as the books progress. And there's very little as rewarding as working with old friends. Okay, so that's number 4. And again, this is from book 2, which is written by me. That it's voiced, it's written by a number of different authors. And in this case, Mundus is a cartographer. Okay, now I'm not a cartographer, which cannot not mean, right, that Mundus is a bad cartographer, an untrained, unskilled cartographer. And he is, right? And that's fine. That's for the story. He's very important in other ways, but not, the science of cartography. I try to lean heavily, make things important that I have training in, okay, that I have experience in. And what are those things, right? Well, I'm a professor, okay? I'm tenured. I'm the director of a graduate program. I have been on committees of governance, right? I understand school structure, the university structure. And so when I'm reading a fantasy book and there's like a school, and there commonly is, right? they're pretty much all wrong. That's not how a university would work, even in Fantasyland. That's not how they would work. Whether it's budgets, whether it is priorities, whether all the different structures, how classrooms are set up and responsibilities delegated, and how, I mean, everything from course content to endowments to, I mean, just how those strings connecting one building to the next and one discipline to the next and one job to the next, how those things are tied. It's like there's a lot of that in my book because that's what I do, what I've done for quite some time, give or take. Also, like physiology, my subjects are physiology and epidemiology. So those are heavily that they have a firm footing in my books, especially physiology. Epidemiology, really the mathematical models of population-based surveillance. That is less so. But physiology is very prominent. And I don't want to read a book by, like, let's say it's on a pub, a bar, a tavern, right? An ale house, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to read a book where that's the setting and it's written by a 20-year-old. Nothing wrong with being 20, right? But if you're 20 and you have a lot of experience in a bar, something bad happened to you, right? Your life did not go according to a healthy plan, right? So it's not going to have compassion or empathy or understanding or humanity because that's not a setting with where the author has any experience. I don't want to read a National Geographic article written by someone without a passport, right? Well, I got it off Wikipedia. There's no humanity in those things. And there's traveling in my book. There's quite a bit of traveling, but like behind me, which is the side, I don't know how to point. Those masks those are from Uganda, and one of my trips to Uganda. On the other side of the house, I have this little artwork from Cameroon. My passport is pretty thickly stamped, and I draw from those experiences in traveling. If I'd never gone anywhere, I would have a tough time creating a realistic, better than AI could do story. So there's a lot of content in my book that I'm drawing from personal experience. Mundus isn't one of them, but he doesn't have to be. He gets to be a bad cartographer. Okay, that's it for today. I will see you when you watch this or something else. You'll see me, I guess, and maybe I'll see you at some point. Bye, everyone.